This man isn't black!
This is it, we are finally here on episode 120, The Connected World, the final episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. This show has had more than a difficult start with multiple recap episodes due to the tight schedule they had to work with, to the point where the director had to publicly apologize to fans for all the constant recap episodes. Fortunately, over time, the staff was able to pick themselves up and get a handle on the schedule and give us the amazing show we were treated to. Right, going over the final staff, we have series composition Shin Yoshida writing the script, series director Asano Katsuya handling the storyboard, Kimiharu Muto directing, and last but not least, the three UADs Yuko Abara, Yuya Kawamura, and Yuki Ushiro doing corrections. Despite what you think of him, Shin Yoshida is a very strong writer who's been working on this franchise for nearly 2 decades, writing some of the best episodes in the franchise. He's not the perfect writer, heck, no one is, but he still cranks out a lot of good episodes. But despite the time constraints, executive meddling, he was still able to write a solid series that tackled themes of depression, dealing with loss, and the rise of AI. He wrapped up the series quite nicely, giving a satisfying closure to most of the characters. It wasn't perfect, but I think he handled it quite well, all things considering. Misaku's dialogue with Ai in this episode was very well done, very profound, and really sold the finality of this episode and the series. Moving on to the storyboard. Asano's storyboard in this episode wasn't really anything too amazing. It was serviceable and I guess it suited the episode, but honestly I expected a lot more from the series director. The storyboarding during the duel felt very flat, no clever framing, no angles. It was just all around kind of very uninspiring, which kind of dragged down some of the episode for me. But go outside the duel and the storyboarding goes from serviceable to decent, having some at least interesting shots. The most noticeable one being Yusaku holding Ai's lifeless body at the end. Didn't really want to be negative, but that's kinda how it is. It was kind of a letdown, to be honest. Vrains was a sinking ship at the beginning, and Asano did a great job making sure that it didn't all crash and burn. And I think he did a very good job keeping this whole thing afloat, as long as he did. Kimiharu's directing was actually very solid, having the appropriate songs play at the right moments and suited the mood and tone of the entire episode perfectly. The action in this episode was well done, not to be made too bombastic, keeping with the mood and tone of the whole episode. For Playmaker, this is a battle to save his best friend, and is not a world-ending catastrophe where you'd need or have huge spectacle and large amounts of sakuga. He still manages to keep the episode entertaining but also conservative at the same time. Kenshi Hara is finally back since episode 29 where he did key animation, this time returning as Chief Animation Director, only ever having that role for the first opening and ending 3. He may not be in the role that I wanted him to be, but at least he actually appeared for the final episode of the series. As a rundown of what the Chief Animation Director does, they basically make sure that the characters look as consistent as possible and look exactly as how they should be, keeping the quality and the look of the characters consistent the entire episode. The first half of the episode is corrected by Yuko Abara. While her section doesn't really house anything amazing in terms of animation, her neat corrections do more than make up for it. Some notable aspects of her section are the reused Inchihara draw cut from opening 1, together with some new drawings to fit the fact that Playmaker is standing instead of running on a D-board, as well as the cut where Playmaker announces his final Link summon. Nothing else apart from that, but yeah, like I said, nothing too amazing. Moving on to the second half of the episode, corrected by Yuya Kawamura and Yuki Ushiro, houses far more interesting visuals and kicks off with key animation by No Gilbo. He's kinda all over this second half and can easily be missed if you don't know what to look for. The most distinct features of his drawings being the tilted lip on 3/4 views, the way he draws his hands, and the almost chiseled features of the faces, if that makes any sort of sense. Although not very sakuga worthy, the most notable shot or animation he did was Playmaker riding off on a D-board at the end of the episode. Moving on to Akemi Yokata, who I'm sure maybe some of you might have spotted her immediately, as she animated the scene where Yusaku finds Ai in the real world and cries over his dead corpse. For the most part, this section was kind of left alone, which I'm actually glad for. Although heavily corrected, she also animated the scene with the hot dog truck in the real world with Aoi, Kusanagi, and Jin, all the way to, I suspect, the scene with the Knights of Hanoi. And as always, it wouldn't be a breakdown without mentioning what Junpei did. Junpei animated the final flow of Decode Talker. His eye is blown away from the resulting explosion and lands on the ground. Not his usual 1000 miles per hour sort of scenes, but it was still actually very nice. He also animated the cute scene with Takeru and Kiku as he takes her to Langframe 3.0 for the first time. Kenshi really kept the drawings as consistent as possible in this entire episode, without completely erasing the star players of the episode. Overall, I am gonna say that I'm a little let down with how conservative the animation was in this episode. I really expected it to be on par or at least top the quality of episode 116. But as I said before, it would have thrown off the tone and mood they were trying to go for. They weren't exactly trying to make this a spectacle. But at the same time, the episode could have benefited from a little more character acting, especially for the real world scenes. Now with Vrains over, we do have Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 to look forward to in 2020. Hopefully a reveal in Jump Festa in December. The full trailer, some character designs, and a list of their key stuff. In the meantime, I do have a video I plan on working on that I want to finish at least before December. I don't want to make any promises, but I will get started on that as soon as I can. So yeah, with that, as always, thank you for watching. 走り抜ける